Israel is grappling with a severe crisis that has captured global attention. A hostage situation has turned tragic, resulting in a surge of violence and widespread unrest across the nation. The stakes are incredibly high, affecting not just domestic stability but also international relations and global perceptions. The capture and deaths of innocent civilians have deeply shaken the nation, leaving families and communities in mourning. The government's handling of the situation is under intense scrutiny, with many questioning their decisions and actions. Citizens are openly questioning the decisions that led to this tragedy, demanding accountability and transparency. Violence has escalated dramatically within Israel and the surrounding region, creating a volatile environment. Civilians are caught in the crossfire, living under constant threat and uncertainty, trying to navigate their daily lives. The crisis has exposed deep divisions within Israeli society, highlighting underlying social and political tensions. Protests and demonstrations have erupted nationwide, with crowds demanding answers and justice for the victims. Amidst the chaos, people yearn for security and stability, hoping for a return to normalcy. The path forward remains unclear, with many wondering what the future holds for Israel. Israel faces a long and challenging journey towards healing and reconciliation, requiring collective effort and resilience. The search for peace seems more elusive than ever, but the hope for a better future persists. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has issued a public apology, a rare and significant move in the midst of a turbulent political climate. This move comes as he faces mounting pressure to address the escalating crisis that has gripped the nation. The apology acknowledges the profound loss and pain endured by the families of the hostages, who have been caught in the crossfire of political turmoil. Netanyahu expressed deep sorrow for the tragic outcome, emphasizing his personal regret and the collective grief of the nation. He vowed to learn from the mistakes made, promising a thorough review of the events that led to this crisis. Reactions to the apology are mixed, with some citizens feeling a sense of relief, while others remain skeptical of his intentions. Some see it as a sincere gesture, a step towards healing, while others view it as a calculated political move to regain public trust. The true measure of his words will be in the actions that follow, as the nation watches closely. The nation waits to see how he will address demands for justice and security, with many calling for concrete steps and accountability. The apology marks a pivotal moment in his leadership, but meaningful change remains to be seen, as the country stands at a crossroads. The streets of Israel are filled with public outcry. Protests and demonstrations have erupted nationwide. Citizens express anger, grief, and frustration at the government's handling of the crisis. People from all walks of life are uniting in condemnation. They carry signs demanding justice for the hostages. They chant slogans calling for Netanyahu's resignation. The air is thick with tension and betrayal. Protesters demand a thorough investigation and accountability. They call for a shift towards peaceful resolution. The public outcry is a force to be reckoned with. The government cannot ignore the will of its people. Will the government listen and take meaningful steps? The crisis in Israel has international repercussions, affecting not just the region but the entire world. The world watches with growing concern as the situation continues to escalate. Many nations express condolences for the loss of life, emphasizing the need for peace and stability. There is mounting criticism of Israel's handling of the situation, with many calling for immediate action to prevent further casualties. The United States urges Netanyahu to show restraint, highlighting the importance of diplomatic solutions. President Biden calls for a ceasefire and a return to negotiations, stressing that dialogue is the only path to lasting peace. Other world leaders echo these sentiments, urging both sides to come to the table and discuss their differences. The European Union condemns the violence and urges restraint, calling for an immediate halt to hostilities. The United Nations Security Council holds an emergency meeting to address the crisis and find a resolution. The international community desires an end to the bloodshed, with peace rallies and protests taking place worldwide. Pressure on Israel is mounting to de-escalate and engage in dialogue as the world watches closely. The crisis strains Israel's relationships with allies, making diplomatic efforts even more crucial. The government must navigate a complex diplomatic landscape, balancing internal pressures with international demands for peace. Prime Minister Netanyahu is at a critical crossroads. The crisis casts a long, dark shadow over his leadership. His approval ratings have plummeted dramatically. Political opponents sense an opportunity to seize power from him. His hardline stance on security is now being questioned. His handling of the hostage situation is heavily criticized. Calls for his resignation grow louder and more frequent. International pressure to change course increases significantly. Netanyahu vows to stay in power and guide the nation forward. He faces daunting challenges to restore public trust and end the violence. His legacy is now uncertain and under threat. The future of his leadership hangs precariously in the balance. Israel pauses to mourn its dead. The funerals of the hostages are marked by grief and loss. Families and friends gather to pay their respects. The images of the funerals are heart-wrenching. The nation mourns with them, united in pain. The funerals remind us of the human cost of the conflict. They also show the resilience of the human spirit. The process of healing will be long and arduous. It requires more than words. It requires action. Justice for the victims is essential. A commitment to peace and reconciliation is needed. The journey towards healing must be taken. The crisis in Israel is a reminder of the fragility of peace. It calls for a lasting resolution to the conflict. The first step is a cessation of violence. All parties must agree to a ceasefire and return to negotiations. Dialogue is essential for progress. Compromise will be necessary for a just and lasting peace. The international community must support the peace process. Mediation and financial assistance can help rebuild communities. The road to peace is long and difficult. The people of Israel deserve to live in peace and security. The time for action is now. A brighter future is possible through collective effort.